Good morning. It is Thursday morning, September 3rd. So, I want to try to explain kind of how I understand the third, fourth, fifth dimensions. Um, I had a dentist appointment yesterday, and there's a lot of sitting around where I go because I go down to the dental school. So, of course, they have to get the teachers and the actual dentist to come by and check their work and everything. So, a lot of times as I'm sitting there, I'll just kind of bring up some different conversation with these girls that are in their early 20s and use that time as a teaching lesson if I can. And so yesterday we had a bunch of downtime. And so I'm sitting there thinking, well, I probably ought to put this to good use instead of just sitting here being quiet. So I asked them if they understood what the third, fourth, fifth dimension or stuff like that was. And they said no, which I really didn't think they did. But I thought, well, I'm going to practice on them and see if this makes any sense. So I'm also practicing on you guys to get some advice on if I need to tweak this for people that might come to me and ask me, what's the difference? What is third dimension, fourth, fifth? How do you understand that? So, all right, so here goes. And this also kind of goes along with a dream that I had a couple days ago, and there was a lot of mud involved. So I guess in this scenario, mud equals emotions, lots of emotions, and mostly negative emotions. So in this scenario, someone who is in the third dimension is going to be in a mud hole, deep, waist deep, chest high, in the mud, trying to get out, flinging mud all over the place. They have mud in their eyes. They can't see. They are so sucked up in that hole of mud that they can't seem to get themselves out. That would equate to someone who is very anxious, somebody very depressed, sad, lonely, hopelessness, you name all of those negative emotions, and that would be the 3D world of what a lot of people are going through right now. So then take that up a step. You've got the person that's standing on the edge of the mud hole. They probably have some mud on them because they're in the way and still being flung with mud. Maybe they were in it recently and they have recently come out. They've still got some of it on them, but they are not as deep in the negative emotions as the person sitting in the mud hole. And they are probably standing there trying to help pull them out because they've already pulled themselves out of the mud hole. And so they are actively trying to help those who are deep, waist deep, chest deep in the hell hole of mud, trying to help them get out. So that would be the fourth dimension. The fifth dimensional people would be the people that are probably sitting up in the tree. They have got themselves a tree house up there and they can see everything that's going on down below. They are not completely immune to the flinging mud because every once in a while they're not completely protected. I mean, they are far enough away from it, they're not in it every day, but every once in a while a fling of mud may come their way or an emotional whatever hits them. But for the most part, they're fairly protected. They're not in the depths of that everyday hellhole of negative emotions. And then I got to thinking, I was like, well, what about people who seem to not be heavy in emotions? They don't seem to be, deep in negative emotions and the depression and the anxiety and everything like that. But they are also not standing at the mud hole trying to help those people out. Where are they at in the relativity to this? And the only thing that I could come up with was they are on the other side of the mud hole having a picnic with their back to it. They don't see what's going on. They have earphones in their head. They are listening to music and they are totally oblivious to what is going on behind them. But eventually they're going to pull those earphones out. They're going to hear the people yelling for help. They may even not even realize that there has been some mud flung their way, but eventually they're going to get up, turn around, and see what's going on. I guess the people having the picnic across the hole are the ones that I would call the unawakened people, the people who are not investigating with what's really going on, or they're not, they have managed to keep themselves from being swallowed up with everything that's going on in the world. Now, I'm gonna open my eyes here. I feel my eyes getting all teared up here. So I'm curious if that makes sense to you guys. Can you add to that story? Can you see things differently? And of course, as the dimensions get higher, you would get farther and farther away from having the negative emotions attach you. I mean, I guess we are all, I shouldn't say all. I mean, I'm sure there are people out there that don't get affected negatively by emotions anymore. They have healed all their wounds. They have deprogrammed themselves. They're not attached to the old way of doing life. They have kind of moved on to a different way. So I don't know. I'm just curious if any of that makes sense and if any of you have any input. So the next time that I'm spending time with the young girls at the dental school and they ask me any kind of questions like that, if you have any additional input to that. One last thing about the dental school. So I really was planning on being back at work by 1. I'm thinking I'm going to get out of there around 11:30, get home, have lunch, get to work at 1, and that was not how it went. So I got in the mud yesterday really bad. Part of it, I will say I was probably, that phrase, hangry, hungry and angry at the same time. I didn't get out of there until 12:30. So that totally threw off my plans of running home, grabbing something to eat, and getting to the office by 1. And by the time I got out of there, I was just really, really, really aggravated. And I got in the truck, got ready to I was sitting at the light after I got out of the parking lot, and I was just sitting there, and I was deep in the emotional mud at that moment in time. I was aggravated and annoyed and frustrated and just really shitty. And at that light, I saw a double amputee girl, young college student, who had both of her, she had her, and there's probably a word for this, she had her legs on. I mean, I don't know how, walking legs. And she had on a pair of shorts, and she also had this really big backpack that she was carrying. And I looked at her and I was like, oh my God, why am I sitting here so aggravated at just being put out and not having my way, when this gal, she was just kind of bebopping across the street like she had regular legs, like she probably wasn't in pain whatsoever, which I'm sure she had to have been because of the size of the backpack she was carrying. There is no way that she could not have been, feeling that, because the amputation was above the knee. I could tell that when she was walking. I mean, so it was she lost from the knees down. And it appeared that it was very even, and both of the legs that she had on were like the metal things where the calves were and the shoes and everything. And I mean, she was walking like a normal person. I just it blew my mind that she didn't look like she was struggling whatsoever. But anyway, I just looked at that, and I wished I could have pulled myself out of the mud at that moment in time just by seeing that and realizing how lucky I have life. And I think the fact that I still had emotional mud all over me, just kind of annoyed me even more, because I still kind of was just again, I'm going to say at that point in time, I was probably hangry, because it was way past lunchtime, and I wasn't expecting to go that long without food, so I was getting a little edgy at that point in time. But anyway, Oh, then there's one other thing. So this is also kind of one of those funny things about seeing things from the different perspective. On a day that I had gotten kind of in the emotional mud at work, we lost one of my favorite closers, and one girl was mad because she found out I was taking off on Friday, and so I felt her energy at me, and that was the day that the air conditioning in my truck finally went kaput, and so I got home and I just felt super, super low. And I thought, you know what, I just need to talk to somebody and I can just get this out of my system and then I'll feel better, because usually if I talk it out, I'm fine and I can be done feeling sorry for myself in 15 minutes. And I called a girlfriend of mine, and when I called her, she was crying. And I was like, "Are you crying?" And she goes, "Yes." And I'm like, "What's the matter?" And she goes, "I got stung by a bunch of bees and I fell in a trash can." And I mean, she was like really, really pathetic. And we've laughed about it now because after that happened, and she said she was okay, she didn't need to go to the emergency room. And I got off of there and I started laughing, not because she was hurt and that she was in a bad place. I started laughing because it was kind of a shift of like going, holy crap, here I am feeling sorry for myself. But the good news was I didn't fall in a trash can and I did not get stung by a bunch of bees. So I know there's a lot of people going through a really rough time right now. And I'm sorry, and I get it. And I don't know how to help other than just knowing that it is going to get better, and the thoughts that you have are the things that create the most pain. That I have learned, because when I am going through my most negative stuff, usually it has to do with my thought process. So, and that's something you just have to work at. Anyway, that's it for today. I gotta get something in my stomach and go to work. Talk to you later. Bye.